Hey, Bernard, how are you?
Good.
Hey, thanks for being so flexible.
Oh, it's all good. I was actually writing up some copy for an email.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So you're like me. Whenever I have some extra time, I just try and get caught up on some things.
Yeah, pretty much.
So first of all, thanks for being on the show. This is awesome. And I read a little bit about you, and I think we have a lot in common. So I don't know how much you know about me, but besides my podcast, I'm a publisher. So I own several publications. As a matter of fact, I just acquired a new publication in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm leaving tomorrow to close on that publication. And then I'm the president of the Equalitas Content Creators Association, group of content creators, publishers, bloggers, influencers, video creators, podcast creators, and I have some other interests. I'm also the executive director of the Equalitas Advisory Board, which are like the top 10 or 12 LGBT media and business leaders in the industry.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I do. And I'm a retired Air Force pilot, 23 years.
Oh, cool. Always wanted to be a fighter jet pilot, but I'm too damn tall. And so there go my dreams for that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be a fighter pilot too, but the wait time was too long. So I ended up flying an airplane called the Lockheed Hercules C-130.
Okay, yeah.
So it had 4 engines, and it was kind of like a fighter plane. You know, we did a lot of crazy shit over the course of my career. So I did have a lot of fun flying it, but now I just fly privately.
Yeah. I have a identical twin brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he actually went to the Air Force. So his first tour, or rather his first job in the Air Force was if you ask me, was pretty cool. Mainly because he got to meet a lot of foreign dignitaries. He got to meet 4-star generals, POWs, all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So
that's awesome. See, that's the thing, the military is not for everyone, but for me, it was a door opener. And, I got to travel the world. And so I've seen, so many different cultures and so many different areas of the world that it changed my worldview and my perspective on things. Yeah. You come back to the United States. I remember the first time I went overseas and I came back to the United States, and I was like, "Holy crap! We have so much."
Yeah. It does help you to be a tad bit more appreciative and grateful for what we have. You know what I mean? And then on the flip side of that, you realize, oh man, we kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Well, we have, like, for instance, one thing that I remember that really spoke to me was I went to a grocery store, and it was in a country that it was just came out from underneath communism, and they had like 7 tomatoes, right? And so they have 2 grocery stores. One is for the tourists, and that you have a little bit more of a selection. But the one for the regular population, you stood in line, and I wanted to try that one. So I went in there, and they had like 7 or 10 tomatoes or something. And then I remember coming back here and going to the grocery store, and it was rows and rows of all these different types of tomatoes, and the things overflowing. And I thought to myself, I thought we're so gluttonous, and we get used to it, and then we get demanding because we don't have 10 different styles of tomatoes, and so it gave me a broader view over what was important and what is real poverty and what is real need and what is what we look at it like. Even my own daughter, she's like, oh, I'm deprived because I don't have a new iPhone, $1,000 phone, when she was younger. And if you ever have been to the Philippines, that $1,000 is what they make for the whole year of working 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that kind of perspective. But anyway, it shaped the way I do business and the way I view business. And so that's why I was really excited when I saw that you were going to be on the show because it looks like you had sort of an epiphany after your time in the CFL, and that sort of changed the trajectory of your life.
It did. It did. I would say mostly before, and then again after my time there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to get into this a little later, but yeah, I was working dead-end jobs, 4 years removed from high school. My intentions was to play college football, went to college for, I don't know, stayed for like a year and a half. Financial aid kind of kicked my ass out. So came back home and just working little jobs, pizza delivery, barbecue joint, Kinko's. At the time, it was Kinko, just little jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I just felt like there was something that I was supposed to be doing. Like I knew I was meant for something else. I knew that there was something bigger that I was supposed to be going after. I just didn't know what it was.
So let me stop you there. So before we get too into this, I want to introduce you to our audience so that they have a little bit of background on you.
Okay.
So let's take a step back and sort of explain to our audience who you are, where you came from, and how you got to be where you are now. And then we'll kick off from there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Bernard Gleton. I am a ex-pro athlete turned tech entrepreneur and podcast host of the Genesis Project podcast, where we teach the business principles, basic business principles for beginners of business, right? And so that's pretty much me in a nutshell. And besides, I got married, got a twin brother, got our dog, the typical stuff.
Well, here's the thing I want to say about what I've read about you and some of the things I've seen on your YouTube channel. And I want people to know this, is that here's a guy who was heading in one direction and then had an epiphany in his life and then pivoted and changed into a different direction. And that direction then helped him become successful. And one of the things that I've learned, Bernard, over the years in business, and I've had my share of pretty big and public failures as well. And I'll tell everyone who always thinks that being an entrepreneur is glorious and everything, it does have those moments. It does. But there are plenty of other moments that are disastrous, and you don't know how you're going to get up. And one of the things that I find in all the entrepreneurs that I've spoken with, and it sounds like you're very similar to this, and that is failure has an impact in two ways on people. They can either give up and accept the failure, or they figure out a different way to become successful. Yeah. And that's what I chose to do. And that's not always the easiest path. So let me ask you, so how did you transition being a pro athlete? I don't know too much about that because I've never been a pro athlete, but being a pro athlete, the ones that I've seen, they get a lot of attention, they have a lot of expectations and so forth. And when that wasn't something that you wanted to pursue anymore, how did you sort of take the things that you learned in the CFL as a professional athlete and transfer it into a successful business strategy or a successful business idiom?
Yeah. So, okay. So originally, like I said, 4 years removed from high school, I knew I was supposed to be doing something, didn't know what it was I was supposed to be doing. I seen a football game. It was maybe around May. Seen a football game on TV. It was professional. It was not the NFL. And I said, that's what I want to do. So that's when I made the decision to go and actually try out for the CFL. So again, 4 years removed from high school, no college ball experience. And I just said, screw it. I'm just going to go try this, right? So did tryouts. They liked me. I came on board. I was on the practice squad, so it wasn't like my name was in lights or anything like that, but it was still a great experience, And then they released me, came home, started doing some semi-pro football with my intentions on trying out for Arena League, which is a different type of game, still football, but just smaller field, inside, and all that type of stuff. And that got cut pretty short because I tore my ACL in a football game in Ohio. So at that point, it was like, well, I need to go do something, right? And at that point, I was looking into other jobs and was actually working at a department store. And the department store was closing down. And I had to figure out, well, what's my next step? I'm tired of doing all these penny paying jobs. I want to do something where I'm actually useful and actually use my mind, not just hard labor and all that type of stuff.
Sure.
So I picked up this career newspaper, and it talked about IT. So I went to an IT school, vocational school, and learned everything I could about IT and got me a better job, obviously. At that job, I went and got me a degree. And then beyond that, and that's pretty much how I kind of fell into it. When the reason why I fell into IT, I would like to think is because in football, my position in football was quarterback and wide receiver. It was a very, very analytical position. I'm talking about I have to break down the defense within, so many seconds. I need to know what I'm going to do. I need to know, if this doesn't work out, I need to know what is my backup. So you might hear, if you watch football, you hear the commentators talk all the time about the check down list for the quarterback, right? Well, for the receiver, it's similar as well, right? So for me, it's always analytical. I have to think. I have my number one guy that I'm going to go to, but if he's not open, I need to fall back to my number two, or to my number three, or to my number four. And again, this is all in the span of seconds, right? And that was easy for me because again, I played football, played sports all my life, really. And with the IT field, it was very analytical. So it was super easy for me to fall into that. So while I'm working on one problem, I'm thinking about two or three other problems in the back of my mind so that once I get there, I know exactly what I need to do, some things I could try and things of that nature, So that's pretty much how I started pivoting. And football is all about pivoting, all about pivoting. And that goes for sports in general. It's all about pivoting because you may have this game plan for the team that you're going to face, but anything could change, right? In the middle of a game, you might see something different and you might just toss the game plan to the side and you have to adjust on the fly. And that's why business for me, it was natural. And yes, it has its highs and its lows and all that type of stuff. But for me, it was just like sports. It was all natural.
So, okay, that's pretty common in entrepreneurism, where people take their life experiences and they move on. But I want to ask a question that I know a lot of people are going to wonder. You went to high school, right?
Yeah.
And then you went to college, but it didn't work out because of what you were saying, your financial aid ran out.
Yeah.
How do you then pick up yourself and say, okay, well, I'm going to start a business? Like, how do you overcome? You must have had self-doubt or people saying, oh, you need to finish this or finish that in order to become a success in business. And I'm telling you that from my own personal experience, I know that's not the case. That is not a necessity. Yeah. And I wonder how did you overcome that? Because one of the things that I think is and I've talked to several people about this, and I've given speeches about this as well, is where someone comes up to you when you're reaching a certain level of success and they'll say something like, oh, you're so lucky, right? As if it just fell into your lap, and they don't realize that you worked so hard and you failed, miserably multiple times and all of that to get to even this point. Did you have a support network around you that sort of cheered you on or gave you a pool of strength to draw from when you had those moments where you're like, am I doing the right thing? And is this going to work? Or how did you get that motivation to continue on?
Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I decided to go try out for the CFL, told my family, they all said that I was crazy. I should just stick with my, I think I was working at a barbecue joint at that time. They said I should just stick to the barbecue joint. It's a good job and all that type of stuff, right? In the back of my mind, I said, this is stupid. I don't like this job. It's not a good job. I'm hot, I'm sweating. And not that I have anything against that, but I can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. This is
Sure.
ridiculous, right? The only people that I had as I guess you could say the cheering section for me was my identical twin brother, my older brother, and 3 of my best friends. That was it. I believe that if it wasn't for them, I'll probably still be doing it, but probably not as confident as I was if I did have them. You know what I mean?
I do.
And I will also say that helped me to create this particular type of attitude that I call the IDGAF attitude. And for those who don't know what that stands for, I don't give a fuck, right? you know,
Hey, I'm going to use that, and I'll use it often.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with that. So one thing that I realized about sports, one thing that I've learned through sports is that, in all honesty, I'm a tall, slim guy, right? My playing weight was 215 at my heaviest, but it took so much for me to maintain that weight. Now that I'm not playing, I'm about 185, 190 on a good day, So my family thought that I shouldn't be playing football to begin with. I should just be playing basketball, running track, and, because I might just get hurt in football, but you're going to get hurt in either sport. It doesn't matter what sport you play, you're going to get hurt. But football taught me to stand up. It taught me to square things up, and all puns intended, square that problem up and just go for it. There's no way you can half-ass anything. Because if you half-ass, let's say, for instance, if I try to run the ball, if I try to half-ass running the ball, I'm going to get the shit knocked out of me.
Right.
If I put 110% into it and I still get the shit knocked out of me, okay, well, at least I tried. I still put in my everything, right?
I agree with that 110%. It's when you have one foot in and one foot out that you're the most vulnerable to failure, in my view.
Yes.
I was just telling a friend of mine who was thinking about taking a risk with a startup company, and he used to work for me, and I've been mentoring him for many years. And he said, well, what do you think? And this and that. And I said, listen, do your homework, do your background, follow your instinct. But here's the thing: once you commit.
Yeah.
Don't half commit, because then first of all, you're setting yourself up for failure, and second of all, it's not fair to who you're partnering with in this business to only give them 50% of your focus and attention. And I want to go back to something, because something you said that stuck in my mind. You talked about faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did your faith have it play a role in your decision making?
So with faith, and by no means I don't want to paint this out to be, a particular religion or anything like that, right?
Sure.
What I mean by faith is, there's a higher being, right? I believe in that higher being, be it God, be it Allah, be it, Elohim, whoever, whatever, right? Just know that I believe that there is a higher power. From my own personal beliefs, I believe that we are all gods, because we was all made in his image, right? We may not be gods with a capital G, we are gods with a lowercase g, right? If we supposed to rule this earth, right, in the sense of using my hands to create whatever and to cultivate it and things of that nature, right? There's certain principles that I need to follow in order for me to make that happen. First I have to make the decision in my mind. Once I make that decision in my mind, then I have to speak it out. Once I speak it out, now I have to put forth the action into doing it. And, that's not to say that I'm not going to have any fear. There's no way in the world that I'm not going to have any fear. It's just taking that fear, dealing with that fear, and still moving beyond it and having faith within myself that I can still get this done, right? And with the amazing things that we've seen people do, for instance, LeBron James, some of the things that he does, it's incredible, right? In his mind, he can do it because he did it plenty of times before. He might have did a crazy dunk in high school that he's still doing today, right? And that's because he believed that he was able to do it, right? Because of the amazing things that I've done, I have the belief and faith in myself that I can do it. And of course, as long as I put forth the work and I continue to pray and work, that's all that matters. That's how my faith helped me, right? And there's a hip hop artist by the name of Ace Hood. He came out with a song called he mentioned a lyric. There was a lyric that he said, I grind and I pray. I pray and I grind. And that's literally all I do, grind and pray.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you something too that I've learned over the years, and that is, and I have faith. I believe in God, and I've had to me, my faith is not so much a guiding tool in decision making for business. It's a guiding tool in me as a human being so that I make good decisions. Right. And it's also a comfort to know that, okay, I can put this in a higher power's hands and have faith that I am not alone. Right. Yeah. Because when you have failures, and I'm sure you've been down this road as well, because any entrepreneur goes down these roads, it's part of the process, is when you have failures, it's very lonely. It's very crowded going up to the success. It's very lonely going down to the bottom, right? Yeah. And I think that I've learned to develop successes from my failures, and that I've learned that discouragement sometimes and failure are like stepping stones to a greater success that you can't see at the moment that you're going through a failure, but that when you look back with clearer eyes, you say you can see. Like for me, I can see the greater picture of things working in my life to prepare me for the success that I have currently. Right. And so I'm thinking specifically of an event where I had a catastrophic failure, and I was like, I don't know, I lost everything, every effing thing, everything. And I thought, how am I going to recover from this? I'm not a kid, how am I going to recover from this? And then I look at where I am today, and I look back at that time when I thought it was the most hopeless, and I realized that was a time to clear out the things that were preventing me from being ready for what I am doing today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I look at things, and it's an ongoing thing to have faith, to trust, because trust is not very easy for people anyway. But that has been my personal experience. Now, I want to talk something. There's so many different things I want to talk to you about. So I apologize. So my brain's like working in overdrive, and I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, oh, I want to talk about that. Oh, no, I want to talk about this.
Yeah,
but one of the things that I really am fascinated by, and I've always been fascinated by this by a lot of different entrepreneurs over the years, is their absolute ability to be resilient and to take, and when something crushes them in the dirt, they somehow find the wherewithal to dust themselves off and say, okay, I'm going to try again. What is it about you that you think helps you have, because not everybody has that, Bernard, Right. And so you have that. And from what I've read, I could see you have that. Where do you think you got that from?
So a little bit from my upbringing, a little bit from sports, and a little bit just from everyday life. I'll give you an example. I never learned how to dunk, right? I'm about 6'5", never learned how to dunk, right? I didn't learn how to dunk till I got into college. And first year in college, I, got the gym by myself, grabbed the basketball, threw the ball halfway down court, ran down court, grabbed it, and went up and dunked it, turned back around, and just continued to do that, right? So make a note of that. It's hard work. When I actually played a pickup game, it was this guy I used to call him Shaq because he was just as big as Shaq, just as ugly as Shaq. His game was just like Shaq, right? And obviously he was on the basketball team. So my teammate, I grabbed the ball, I grabbed the rebound, threw it to my teammate, and he's running down court and he pulls up for the jumper, right? And I'm kind of just taking my time back down court, and I timed it perfectly. Whereas when he shot the ball, I'm kind of close to the rim now, right? He missed the shot. The ball hit off the rim, and I was in the air before everybody. And I was able to grab the ball, and I was able to dunk it. But I dunked it on Shaq, right? So, being a guy from Detroit, I talked a little trash to him, whatnot. So went back down court on defense. Shaq got the ball at the free throw line, and I'm underneath the basket with two other guys. He turns around with the basketball, and you can see exactly what he wants to do. You can see what he's thinking, right? In my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, well, I got two other guys here who can help me out. Okay, let's go for it. He took one step, them two guys bailed on him. So it's just me and him down, right? So it's like, well, I ain't no use in checking it out. All right, screw it. Let's do this, right? He went up, I went up. He came down, I came down. And I'm not afraid to admit that he dunked on me as well as he should, right? This guy is about 6'8" to my 6'5", right? And every bit of, he's a big guy, right? And he, he talked a little trash. So we're talking back and forth, all in good, clean fun and all that type of stuff, right? It wasn't until after the game, he pulled me to the side. He said, hey, I got to respect you. I respect you a whole lot for what you did. A lot of people would have just moved to the side, just let me have my way. And I told him, I'm from Detroit. This is how we do things. This is, if we don't have anything, we have heart, So I'm saying that to say this, that it's hard work and just pure heart. It doesn't matter, who's on the court. It doesn't matter who's on the field. It doesn't matter what obstacle I face. In my mind, I'm either going to achieve it, I'm going to overcome it, or I'm going to find a way to overcome it. And that's just how I'm built. That's how I'm wired, And again, that deals well a lot with sports, So, yeah.
So that's awesome. And I love that. I love that story. And, so often people forget that who you are as a human being permeates everything that you do. And I've met people that are great business people or great pilots for that matter, and horrible human beings. And and I think to myself, what could they have achieved if they were a good human being and a good businessman or a good pilot?
Mm-hmm.
What can you achieve? I think there's a place for that. You can be competitive. And I like the part where you said you were competitive, but you were respectful. And he noticed that. And that breeds respect.
Yeah.
Right. And God knows we could use that in this time anyway, as well. But so let me ask you, how did you started out with after the CFL and you went into the tech field? Mm-hmm. That seems like a big jump. Like that seems like such a pivot. So how did that happen? How did you just decide or discover that, hey, I want to go into a tech field and really just pivot what direction I'm heading?
Well, like I said, the game was so analytical. My position was so analytical in a game and practice and things of that nature. I wanted something that was going to force me to be analytical. IT just seemed like it was it. So when I went to the IT vocational school, I really went just to see how it was going to be. Is it something that I could really do? And after the first day, I was hooked.
Really?
that was it. Yeah.
I want to share this with you. When I was in the Air Force, I joined when I was 18. Mm-hmm. And I was an officer, but I wanted to be a pilot. You have to be an officer to be a pilot. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to get a degree. So this was back in 1981 or 82 or somewhere around there. And so at that time, the big thing was programming, computer programmer and all that. So I said, I'm going to get a degree in computer science, right? I hated every moment of it. And the only thing that kept me going was the fact that once I got my degree, I knew I could become an officer, which would allow me to become a pilot. Mm-hmm. So producer Nick and even some of my friends make fun of me because I'm very technology. I don't want to say challenged, but we don't get along very well.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, and as you were explaining your story, I'm thinking to myself, so how do you go from football, which is, yes, it's analytical, but it's also very physical and very aggressive and what have you? Because when I went to computer science, I was bored out of my mind most of the time. It didn't excite me, but it sounds like it excited you. And that was a key difference, is it excited you. And now you found something where you can use the analytical side, but do you miss the other side? The physical side, the aggressive side, the team sports? Because all of the computer and IT people that I know drink lots of coffee and they sit at their desk and they look at computer screens for hours.
I honestly, the whole curiosity that's pretty much what got me. Curiosity and my imagination is what kept me very, very intrigued with technology and computers and things of that nature, right? So you mean to tell me if I put in a couple of strokes on this keyboard, I could make this imaginary figure dance or do this or do that? Man, how do I do that? So that's kind of what kept me motivated when it came to IT. Now, do I miss the competitive stuff? Yes. Hell yes. Hell yes, I do. And that's why on the weekends, I do everything I can to be a weekend warrior and things of that nature. So, I still play basketball. I still go running. I still go, if I can find me a bunch of people to go play, football with, I go do that. I got a bunch of crazy stories about when I first attempted to play flag football and trying to break out of the the tackle mentality and trying to carry that over to flag football. That was really tough. That was really tough.
You tackle, then you take the flag.
I've gotten so many flags by accidentally tackling somebody or people in general, and I apologize afterwards. I strongly apologize to the players, to the referees, and everybody else who was there, but flashbacks, man, it's hard,
It's hard, yeah. Try being a military officer for 23 years and then dealing with civilians, and and they're like, you can't order me around. It took me years to overcome that, but I finally did mostly.
Yeah.
So I want to go on to this because I really want to get in the second half of the show. I want to get to the point of what led you to podcasting, because that's like the big common denominator I think that we share. But so in one of the things I saw, you started this company called Netware Technical Solutions, right? Yep. And the thing that caught my eye when I was reading about it, it says that you can help businesses leverage technology to get a ROI within 5 years, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me what that is and how does that work?
Okay, so here's the thing. I've been in IT for over 10 years now. I started Netware Technical Solutions when I was about 5 years into the field. And I said, you know what? I've seen a lot of things that other businesses are not using, particularly the smaller businesses, right? So my thing was, these big businesses are using all of this technology. The smaller businesses believe that they don't have enough money to go after some of this technology that the bigger businesses are actually using, right?
Right.
That's completely false. That's a complete lie. This is the thing. Everybody have the same opportunities. Everybody have the same reach when it comes to the same technologies that the bigger businesses are using. One of the things that I get a lot of pushback on is cost. Yeah, okay, they may pay, tens of thousands of dollars for this one particular program, but here go another program that's similar to this program that's a lot cheaper. And we can use that to leverage your technology, to leverage the technology for your business. So when I go talk to other businesses and things of that nature, I try to help them understand that you have just as much access to the technology that the bigger businesses are using for the smaller businesses.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Give me an example. Like, give me a model of a fictitious business, let's say, and how you would walk in to a small to medium business, let's say, and that small to medium business says, I would love to use this technology, but I don't think I can afford it. I can't afford it in our budget or whatever, right? So
Right.
now, Bernard, you come in and you're like, okay, this is what you do. And what I want to know is how do you identify those needs, and then how do you convince them? Because there's got to be some investment in order to get a return, right? You can't get a return without an investment. So how do you convince them, hey, you have to make this investment to get a return? And then how do you manage that return, and how do you measure what that return is?
Okay. So
I know that's
a great question. No, it's a great question. So this is what it is. Netware Technical Solutions is what's called a managed services provider, right? So what we do is, in the old days, you call the IT department when something breaks, right? With this business model, what I am is I'm a proactive. See, before it was reactive. Now my business model is proactive. So the only time you get a call from me is when something's broken and I fixed it, right? So or hey, when's my check going clear, right? When's your check going clear? So I can get my payment, I can pay my people. And that's the thing. So what we focus on is infrastructure. There's a foundation, and it doesn't matter what kind of business you start, what kind of business you are. It's a technology business. Let's just face it. If you become a toilet paper salesman, it's a tech business, right? Which means email, phone, website. It's all technology, right? So with that putting out there, with that as a starting point, what I do is I focus on three things. Those three things is time. If I focus on your time, if I can save you time, it will make you more productive.
Right.
The second thing is productivity. If I put in the right software, the right tools, I can make you productive, which obviously makes you more money, right? And three, I save you a lot of stress. And that's pretty much the three keys that I use. So let's say, for example, you have a brick and mortar, let's say a coffee shop, right? First thing I do is obviously I come in and I do a assessment. Okay. After I do my assessment, I need to know, what are your business goals? Because there's no way I don't want to fake the funk and give you this great picture of you having all the rainbows and unicorns and all that type of stuff when I probably can't deliver on that, right? So once I identify what I am able to do, then I could put together systems and help you with that. So let's start with the coffee shop.
Okay.
Right? You have a coffee.
You know why that's a good one? I used to own a coffee shop, so I can relate to that.
Okay, great. So let's say you have a coffee shop. You one of the things that I would do is, like I said, come in, do an assessment, try to figure out what's your goals, see how I can help you. First thing I would say is, you're a coffee shop. You need to have Wi-Fi. You're gonna have people come in here. They're gonna have their laptops. They're gonna have their tablets and things of that nature. You obviously have to have Wi-Fi. So with Wi-Fi comes internet. With internet comes a big opportunity for hackers and things of that nature, right? If I was a hacker, I could come into your coffee shop and just sit down, turn on my computer, and capture anybody who's on this network and just do whatever I want. I could steal their information. I could get their password to the ATM. I can figure out their password to Facebook, social media, and things of that nature.
Yeah,
right? So one of the things that I would need, So what I would need to do is put in some type of security for your Wi-Fi, right? With that, we also need to separate your network as far as your cash registers. So more than likely nowadays, everybody's using tablets to bring in the cash and things of that nature, right? To ring up people. So we obviously need to separate that and still make it protected, right? So overall, I would help protect your whole network, and then I would segment your network so that only you and your business products will be able to use this part of the network, and everybody else will be able to use this part of the network. Does that make sense to you?
It does. So basically, you would create sort of like a password. Like here's a password for the business side, and here's a password for the general public if they want to have Wi-Fi.
Yes.
One thing that I want to understand here, and when you say an ROI, so in my mind as a business person, I think of that's a service that we provide. Like at the coffee shop, that was a service that we provide, and then it was a secure service. So I want to protect our ability to do business, but the way I look at things was more of a practical, perspective. So how do you, when you say you deliver ROI, do you help small businesses with inventory control? Let's use the coffee shop model.
Okay.
Inventory control, food waste, ordering vendors. Of course, we talked about Wi-Fi security. Do you focus on marketing? Do you focus on design? Do you talk about geek, like having a coffee shop? There's all sorts of technique as a barista. I went to school to become a barista, which was very interesting. It was much more complicated than I thought it was, and then you learn about the roasting of the beans and the different coffees and all that different things. And I'm wondering, if you take that approach, do you just focus on the technical side of the business, or do you help them to develop their business as a whole, including the technical side?
Right. I mostly focus on the technical side. Now, there is a stat out there that I came across that says managed service providers, MSPs, are able to give businesses 25% on their return of investment within 5 years, right? Now, that's the difference, or that's the ROI that I'm speaking of. When I say
investment, so your ROI is specific to, I just want to make sure that I understand, so that we don't talk about things that are outside the scope of where the topic is. So your ROI is based on the technical investment that you would make, so that whatever technology you use in the course of doing your business is the most efficient, right? Would that be a good way to describe it?
Yep.
Okay, now I understand. Could have used you about 10 years ago, but better late than never.
I'm sorry, that's my fault.
But now, I can't even imagine how busy you must be, because now everybody's business is reliant on that. And now with COVID, it's even worse. I've become a new lover of Zoom. I never even used it, and here's technology that has been great, and I never even knew it existed. I've heard about it in big companies, right? But I never thought that, I can use it for my podcast, or I could use it for, the little things that I'm doing.
And see, that's a good example of what I mean by technology that you see big businesses using that you didn't think was available because you're a smaller business, right? That's a great example of that.
That is a great example. And the necessity became, i.e. COVID, is what propelled that forward. And I think that what you do is really fascinating, in the fact that you bring that to the table for some, let's say, a small to medium business that may not even know what's available. You can say, hey, you can do this, and this can save you time, because you know how long it takes to handwrite things or write emails or whatever. And you can have a meeting, and I can have, according to the Zoom thing that I have like 100 people at once. I can do a whole effing seminar. From all over the world, by the way. So that's the cool part of technology. Now I want to kind of segue into something that I thought, and this is one of the paragraphs that I really enjoyed reading, and it says that you have a new venture in addition to what you're doing, and that is podcasting. First of all, how did you come to know about podcasting, and why do you think it's a natural fit for what you're already doing?
Okay, so let me just say this. So typically, when you come across a IT person from the past or whatever else like that, you have this idea that this tech guy is just somebody who's going to be in a corner on a computer. Nobody talks to him until something breaks down or something,
The guy from Jurassic Park. What's his name?
Yes.
Newman.
Yes. Right. So, nobody really, with this whole new age of tech people, right? We're a lot more personable, right? And as you can tell, I'm super personable. So when I first got in the field, it was kind of like
You are? I thought you were kind of shy.
just a tad bit. But when I came into the field, people was kind of looking at me like, man, you kind of bright and cheery for you to be in this field, and that's amazing, right? So how I came into podcasting is something that I used to listen to, well, I still do. I listen to for years, right? I used to have,
So are you one of my subscribers?
Don't
even answer that right now. I'm just teasing with you. But
it's all good.
I'm gonna listen to yours.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to listen to yours. I have no problem with that. I'll return the favor.
Okay.
But I've been listening to podcasts for years, and honestly, there was times where I had like an hour drive to work, and music is cool, but I hate commercial. I'm one of those people that hate commercial.
Me too.
Yeah. So when I came across podcasting, I learned so much from podcasting, whether it's self-help or some things I could sort of do when it comes to technology and things of that nature, right? Or just something spiritual or meditation, things of that nature, right?
Sure.
And that really became I was in car university, right? Which is just listening to podcasts, reading or having audiobooks read to me on the way to work, on the way home from work, right? So how I actually jumped into it was one day I was leaving the office, and I just kept thinking, man, how can I get more leads into my tech business, right? And I was listening to this one particular podcast. It was a technical podcast, but it was talking about how you can market as a technical podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that was on there, the guy who was the guest, he said, you could start a podcast, but that's not what clicked for me, right? And this is what I like to call my Genesis moment. And a Genesis moment is when you come to a fork in your road, and you can go right or you can go left, and you can see what your life could be beyond those steps, right? So example of that would be me trying out for the CFL. That's the Genesis moment. Me starting the Genesis Project podcast. That's another Genesis moment. Me getting married. That's the Genesis moment, right? So this is one of my bigger Genesis moments that I've had. That once I heard that, it didn't really click with me. What clicked for me was this whisper, or more so like a yell, that said, hey, you should start a podcast, right? And I got to thinking like, well, who am I going to bring on to this podcast, right? So, the voice was like, you have a lot of friends. You could bring them onto the podcast. And I said, yeah, okay, whatever, right? Like who? And so I have a couple of friends who do different things and things of that nature, right? And so with that, I said, all right, great. Let me go ahead and get them on here. But what am I going to call this podcast, right? I'm sorry, that's my riddle, baby.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Producer Nick is awesome at editing that stuff out.
Oh, great. I hope you're going to pay him a lot of money for that.
No, don't listen to him, Nick. Don't listen to him.
So what ended up happening was I was wondering like, okay, well, what am I going to name this, right? So the name Genesis Project Podcast came to mind. And that's when it really solidified with me. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, now I got me a name. I have some idea of, how I'm going to go about it. Now, mind you, I don't know what I'm doing. I was just throwing stuff at the wall, and, all it is bloomed from it. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much how I got into it.
Well, I'll tell you, that's pretty much how I got into podcasting as well. And a couple of things. One is I have a busy life, and I started to do a podcast because to me, it's a way for me to directly speak to an audience instead of speaking through a written editorial or an article or so forth. I can have somebody on the show like you, and we can have a conversation, and I'm infinitely curious. I'm very curious about everything. Whether it's UFOs, Bigfoot, entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter. Politics, current events. I'm curious, and it's a pursuit of personal growth, if you will, through education and enlightenment. And it's the same thing is to share my own experience as someone that's been in business for 35 years. I can share my experience and maybe plant a seed that somebody will grow into an oak tree in their own career. And then I found that I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed meeting new people. I've met so many. This is a fun thing you'll find, Bernard, when you do podcasting. As you have more guests on your show, you get to meet these people, and then you begin these relationships, and some of them continue on and on.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that because, like you, I'm not exactly a shy person. I'm very outgoing. So I like to talk to people, and I like to learn about people, and I like to hear different perspectives on things. And I think that podcasting is a way for you to share. It's sort of like having a conversation in your living room or in the kitchen with friends without them being here, So to me, when I do a podcast, it's not like a news interview show. It's, I'm going to meet a new friend, and we're going to just talk about what they're doing in their life and share. And that is what I enjoy the most about it, quite frankly. Now, of course, you get listeners and you get excited when you get to certain numbers and all of that, but I don't do it for any of that. I do it specifically for what I just explained. Now, at some point, it's like acting. You have 10 actors that get to be mega stars and they make $10 million a picture, but 90% of actors make scale, and they just trudge along. So you have to love doing it first. And if you do it for money, I think that's the wrong way. But if you do it for, hey, I like doing it, and it's a natural progression of or an extension of my business, then it's just another thing that you can do that gives you access to people that can help further along what you're doing in your life, business and personal, for that matter.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that as a technical guy, I probably could have started this podcast and made it a technical podcast, right? Mm-hmm. But in my mind, I wanted to go after the people who I wanted as potential clients, right? Mm-hmm. Which is businesses. So that's pretty much why my podcast is centered around entrepreneurship and business and things of that nature. Everybody, here's one of the things that a football coach told me years and years and years ago. Success leaves clues. Our job is to... That's so
funny. I was just that was one of the quotes I had circled, and I was going to ask you as soon as you were done, is you believe that success leaves clues. Talk about that. What does that mean?
So, okay. So the way success leaves clues, if you study somebody, you'll see the things that work for them. It's our job to take those things and put our own little spin on it and still move forward and become successful, right? One of my favorite football players is Michael Irvin, right? Mm-hmm. I love Michael Irvin because he wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the biggest guy. He was pretty big, but he wasn't the biggest guy. But you knew when he went up in the air, he was coming down with that football, right? So that tenacity, that dogma that he had, was one of the things that obviously I gravitated towards, right? And the fact that he wasn't fast, was still able to catch the ball, still able to create that separation, to catch the ball, that was amazing to me. So what I used to do was I studied him. I studied Jerry Rice, and I studied other greats and things of that nature, right? And each one of them did something great, did something unique. So what I did was I took all of those things, I combined it together, and I put my own spin on it, my own little flavor on it, and it made me a better football player, right? So when it comes to success leaving clues, is studying people, watching what works for them, taking what works for them and putting your own spin on it, putting your own little flavor on it, and making it yours, right? Everybody has their favorite flavor Kool-Aid, for example, right? But everybody makes Kool-Aid different. Some like it a little sweeter. Some like it a lot sweeter. Some like it not so sweet, right? It's the same flavor, but just with a different taste.
Sure.
And that's what I call it. That's why that's one of my favorite quotes.
I love that. And I love the fact that you use the Kool-Aid reference because, I don't even know if the younger generation knows what Kool-Aid is, but we grew up on Kool-Aid. Do you know that, Nick? You know what Kool-Aid is? Do you do?
Not the commercials, right? Not with Kool-Aid, man. Like actually tasting the Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we grew up. You remember the guy who looked like a pitcher, and he would run through the thing and break through the house or whatever.
Yeah.
But see, in our house, I am one of those. I like a very weak Kool-Aid. I like to taste the taste, but I don't want overpowering. But my husband is like, let's put in 3 packets when it only calls for 1 kind of thing. He wants the full power of it. So that's kind of interesting. But that is so true. You can have the same thing, but different variations of it, right?
Yeah. Totally.
So you talk about pushing entrepreneurs' agenda, like an agenda for an entrepreneur. You push it forward by promoting entrepreneurs, but partnerships, right? So what does that mean? Talk to me about that.
So one of the things that, and again, you've heard me mention earlier that I have an identical twin brother, right? My twin brother, he, like I said, he had the opportunity to talk to, generals, foreign dignitaries. He, talked to special op teams and things of that nature. One of the many topics and subjects that we talk about often is fear, right? How is it that, and you being being a veteran should understand this. How can these people in the special forces deal with fear, right? If somebody's shooting at me, I'm letting you know now, I'm getting out of there, right? But these guys, they're pushing forward, even with the fear. And what they do is they deal with it in order for them to move forward. And I remember my brother asking this POW who just got rescued for years. I'm talking about back, he was held over there since Vietnam, and he came back over. Yeah. And he asked him, you was going through hell. What did you do to get through hell? And he said, well, I played golf in my mind. Never played golf before, but I played golf in my mind. I can tell you the specifics. I can tell you, what course I'm on. How far away is this a par 3 or is this a par 4 hole? I can tell you the distance of the hole. I can tell you when the wind is coming, how strong the wind is, and things of that nature, right? So all I have to say that it was nothing but training that helped them to get over fear. And not necessarily get over fear, but just deal with fear in a sense where they could still push forward and achieve their main objective, right? Mm-hmm. So my thing with pushing the entrepreneurship envelope forward is that everybody I've talked to, or a lot of people that I've talked to, have this fear, right? And we spoke on this a few times earlier. It's fear. My thing is doing everything I can to help take that fear away, or at least push it to the side for you to move forward and to start this entrepreneurship venture, this business idea, this great business idea that you may have. All I'm trying to do is just try to take some of that fear away from you and give you some confidence to help you go after it.
A great point. And I think that a lot of people can learn from that. But I want to add to that about fear. And, people think because I'm in the position that I'm in, that I am confident and I always walk around ready and, and I don't have any fear. What they don't know is that even as I acquire this publication in Phoenix, that I am filled with self-doubt. I am filled with trepidation that what if I'm buying a publication in the middle of a COVID crisis that's financially not the best and all of that. And I remember the other day I called a friend of mine. I said, listen, I want to talk to you because I have super high anxiety. And what if I'm not doing the right thing? What if I'm doing the wrong thing? And, and you start second guessing yourself and you start wondering, and then it becomes paralyzing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I've learned over the years is fear is a good motivator. right?
Yeah.
It's a good motivator, but you cannot let it control you. You cannot let it consume you. When I was in the first Gulf War in 1991, we were flying out of Turkey and then later out of Kuwait City. And I don't know if you remember back then, but when Saddam Hussein lit all the oil fields on fire and there were these columns of sooty smoke coming from everywhere, and we're flying and we're dodging these things, and we're flying at a reasonably low altitude and being shot at, and there are lots of other airplanes, and it's very confusing, and it doesn't affect you while you're doing that, but you're petrified, but you do it. And then it wasn't until I landed that my legs got really weak, and I was like, that's too close to death. That's too close to cheating death. And I've seen and spoken to many, many military people that are on the ground that are much closer to death. And we talk about, how do they overcome that? And the one thing that I learned is that they don't overcome it. They manage it, right? They manage it. They just manage it. And it's normally after the fact that you're like, oh, I'm exhausted or I'm weak-kneed because you went through that. But at the time before you're going through, adrenaline helps you. And then while you're going through it, training and focus helps you. And afterwards, you sort of get to relax a bit. But same thing in entrepreneurship is entrepreneurs, in my experience, are always second guessing themselves, and they're always fearful. And they're fearful of what? They're fearful of failure. Financial failure, mostly. They put all their heart and soul and blood and sweat into this business, and if they make the wrong decision, it can go down the tubes. And I think that the thing I like about the one thing that I really love about everything I read about you is that quote that you believe that success leaves clues, and I strongly and firmly agree with that. Is that if you're open-minded to look for them, you'll see them everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
And so, and it's you'll see them everywhere. That'll lead you in the next direction. So I think that that was a point that I really want people to understand is fear is good, fear is normal. How you manage it is what makes a difference. Some people are so paralyzed. I got to tell you, a friend of mine said to me, never was an entrepreneur. He worked in a factory, and he said, I love getting my paycheck every week. And he has a good life, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He has a good life. He has a retirement and whatever. I haven't had a paycheck since I retired from the Air Force like that. And he says, I don't know how you do it. And truthfully, sometimes you don't, and maybe you find it this way. Do you ever think, oh my God, I'm creating my own job every day or my own paycheck every week? And what if I can't do it one week? Then I don't have a paycheck. That's fear.
Yeah. For me personally, it goes back to sports, right? Let me paint you this picture. In my mind, I see it as if I'm on the field and my team needs these yards or this touchdown, right, to move forward. So let's just say my team needs this first down. It's third down, first down, second down, whatever, right? When I get the ball, I have a choice. Either I could run to the sideline and hope that we can do it the next play. And what if there is no next play, right? Or I can see this hole and run through that hole. Now, earlier you heard me mention about half-assing, right? Half-assing through this hole, I could get my helmet knocked off, right? Here's the thing. I don't know what's on the other side of that hole. It could be a linebacker. It may not be a linebacker, right? But all I know is I need to get this first down. My team is dependent on me to get this first down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my foot in the ground and I'm going to go as hard as I can to try to go through that hole and try to get that first down. Now, again, earlier I mentioned to you that if I go 110% and somebody meet me and, I get nothing, then okay, that's fine. At least I put in the effort. However, I don't know if that linebacker's been blocked. If I run through that hole and that linebacker's been blocked, then I still got, the secondary or the defensive back that I have to worry about. that's somebody that I could deal with, right? You know what I mean? So I'm saying all that to say this, that, yes, it's scary. And again, and you could probably attest to this. We don't know what the hell we doing.
That's right.
It's just us in for lack of better words, it's us grabbing our bootstrings, right? And just getting the things done. And is it scary? Yes. Do we deal with it? Yes. But the main thing is we got to move forward. I got to move forward.
That's right. And I'm going to tell you something too. You made a point that, there are oftentimes you don't know what the end result's going to be. So you're like, I have to take a step of faith, and I have to believe in what I'm capable of, and I have to believe in other people that are around me that are working with me, what they're capable of. And you take a step of faith, because if not, fear will keep you on the sidelines, and you'll never know. You'll never know, because that's the safest thing. So staying on the sidelines is what the end result is going to be. You get in the game, you don't always know what the end result is going to be, and that's and that's tough. I can't even believe we've been talking for over an hour. It's gone by so quick, and probably could talk to you for another hour and not even think about it. But I want to cover a couple of things. One is, how has COVID, how has this whole thing affected your business, and what advice would you give to other small business owners and I know here in Chicago, a lot of them are suffering and are, closing for good and going out of business. What would you say, and what advice would you give to small business owners to help them survive through this?
Man, this COVID thing has been a blessing in disguise. And I would say that in a sense that if I didn't have the systems, if I didn't create the systems that I created in place, I would be a tad bit more fearful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this has opened up plenty of opportunities for me. Now I'm as far as the tech business, I've sort of moved into the role of being a virtual CIO, a virtual chief information officer, right? In the sense that now I'm basically consulting people in businesses on how they can run their business, how they can make this pivot and use technology more than ever to leverage for their business, right?
Sure.
So the main piece of advice that I would give to other small businesses and things of that nature: remain open, just remain open. Being open to the possibility of pivoting, not necessarily throwing away your original game plan, but maybe just taking a step to the side to do something that may possibly get you back on that main track again, right? It's always, I'm trying not to get super technical here. So when I say open, I mean being open to the possibility, right? Being open to the universe, because the universe may deliver to you an opportunity that you may not even thought of,
I agree with that. I think entrepreneurship is being able to pivot and be open to things that that weren't planned for. Like, for instance, the acquisition of this publication in Phoenix. I wasn't planning for that, but because they were mismanaged, the opportunity presented itself, and I took advantage of it.
Yeah.
But this is part of being in business. And I want to segue that into this last point, and this is something that I think is so important. And I was listening to your podcast or on your YouTube channel, and was talking about dressing for success, right? And so oftentimes, I'll start with this and then let you close out here. And that is, so oftentimes people judge you by how you look, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, I'm pretty casual right now. We're casual because you're at the kitchen table and we're just BSing and we're sharing our experiences.
Yeah.
But when you go to a meeting, it is important for you to make that first impression. It sets the tone of what that conversation is going to be about. And people look at you and say, oh, he means business because of the way you dress. Now, it sounds superficial, but it is true. It is absolutely true. And I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'll let you finish off. I went to hotel that we owned years ago, right, in San Antonio, Texas. And I walked in, I was wearing my baseball hat and a shirt and some jeans, and I brought my coffee, and I just sat in the lobby. And I just wanted to see how the front desk people were greeting people and what have you. They didn't acknowledge me. They didn't do anything. I was completely invisible. The next day, I went into the hotel in a suit and tie, and everyone snapped to and called me Mr. Doran and also all that sort of thing. And I learned, again, reevaluated then that people will see right through you if you dress a certain way. If you dress another way, they will connect with you. And the same happened at the bank. I'll never forget this one time. It pissed me off too. I went into the bank and I was trying to get a cashier's check for $5,000, right? And I looked like a bum. No, no disrespect to bums, but I looked like, I was working in the yard, and I went in there and I walked in. I tried to get the thing. First of all, they looked like I was robbing the bank, and that pissed me off. And then they were going to charge me $25 for the cashier's check. Right? I have all my business accounts there at the time, and a good amount of money. And I had a banker that I worked with all the time. It wasn't until he came up and told them who I was that they even noticed who I realized. And I had been to that bank all the time, right? And always in a suit and tie. And it taught me a lesson, again, that people judge you on how you look. So when I was listening to that YouTube, when I was watching that YouTube thing, and you're talking about dressing for success and how that impacts your business, it touched on something that I had personally experienced. So talk about that. Tell me a little bit why that's important.
Okay, so I'm not sure. Well, you guys can see, but first off, I'm a black man, right?
You are?
I'm 6. Yeah, I am. Last I checked, I'm 6'5", right? So not to make this about race or color or anything like that, but this is just the reality, right? I'm black, I'm a man, and I'm 6'5". Right? I already have 2 strikes against me. Again, because I'm black and I'm big. So a lot of people will find me intimidating. It doesn't matter if I'm always smiling like I have been this whole show, right? Yeah. There's going to be people who are going to find me intimidating. I would be more intimidating to people if I was to, show up to a board meeting in, jeans and gym shoes, some Nikes on and a t-shirt, right? So my father always taught me to have 2 things in my closet, and that's a suit and a tuxedo, right?
Yep.
And ever since then, I never had a tux. I need to go get me a tux. But I have a closet full of suits, right? And I literally have maybe like 2 pairs of jeans, a lot of t-shirts. I just brought my 2nd pair of Jordans ever in my life, literally, while I was on vacation, right? And I'm saying that to say this, that if I was to play to the idea of how the media paint me as a black man to be, that I'm supposed to be a rapper, or I'm supposed to be an athlete or a drug dealer or whatever, right? Then they will win. Nobody will ever take me seriously. If I was to dress sharp, if I was to have a sports coat and a button-down shirt, the shirt don't need to be tucked in, but at least I look the position, I look the part, right? Then I would be taken a tad bit more seriously, right? And I had some experiences similar to yours. There's a more affluent area around Detroit, right? Just outside Detroit. It was actually a suburb. And there's a mall there. So I went to the mall. I had on gym shoes, jeans, t-shirt. I went inside this Tiffany and Company store. Because my intention was to get my grandmother this pendant, for Christmas or whatever. Nobody paid me no mind. Nobody. I'm actually stopping people, asking them, hey, I need some help. Hey, can I get some help? Hey, I would like some help over here. Hey, I would like to buy something, right? It wasn't until I said, hey, I want to buy something, somebody came over to me and started talking to me. And even then, the attitude towards me was, all right, well, what can I get you? You don't look like you could, afford these prices. So let me just push you over here what's more affordable to you, right?
Right.
And of course, I was upset. The first, and this happened when I was, I don't know, maybe 22, 23 years old. So the first thing on my mind was, oh, this is kind of racist, right? But because
Absolutely.
I was open-minded, I went back, but this time I dressed differently. I had on a suit, no tie, my shoes were shine, my hair was nice, went there immediately. Somebody, hey, can I help you, sir? Hey, what can I show you? Hey, this, that, and third, whatever, right? And it was like, oh, okay. So everything that my father said to me is completely true. Completely true.
It is, and I don't, I don't face the things that you face like that.
Yeah.
But I do face it sometimes in that one experience, or there's two experiences, one at the bank and on a smaller scale. But I sent you a file. They click on. I sent you a picture, and that's me dressed up in a tuxedo, and so I clean up. I can clean up when I want to, and but I never want. I mean, I rarely want to, But I'm just saying is that when you want to have an end result, especially in business or in something else, you have to dress for the part, because they're going to judge you on what you bring to the table. They can't see your mind, right? They can't see, like I remember telling the bankers, like, I'm a smart guy and they're treating me like I'm an ignoramus at the bank, They can't see into your mind. The only thing that they see, and that's something that I learned, is the outside of you.
Yeah.
Now, so I look at it like that. So I want to dress so that the outside of me commands the attention and hopefully the respect of my audience. Know your audience. It doesn't mean anything. You're not being fake because you're wearing a tuxedo. Like, I don't wear a tuxedo all the time. So it's like, I'm not a fraud because I'm wearing a tuxedo at this event. This event dictates a certain presence in order to get the result that I wanted. You wear it. And I think that's the thing I've learned is dressing for success. It's a tool in your arsenal to help you achieve your objectives. It's not a reflection of who you are or your station in life. It's just a tool.
Right.
And that's something that I talk about often myself is those things are your tool. To me, the most how would I say it this way? I have met the smartest people that have great minds and look like they were lived under a bridge, right? And I've met people that are look like George Clooney but are as dumb as a box of rocks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So your mind is the first thing, but you got to get people to want to get people to want to know your mind. They can't. They don't know that. So if you dress a certain way, you won't get anybody's attention. They're never going to know what you have to offer.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be in business, if you're in business, just like some people say that your body is a temple, your appearance is your first impression.
Right.
And I think that's important. And I think that's a great thing to focus on, Bernard, in what you're talking about, because I don't think it's focused on near enough.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people I've had come into my office, not the studio, but my actual office, applying for a job and looking like they just came from the beach?
Yeah.
And so my first impression is, what? You couldn't comb your hair or wear shoes?
Yeah. You couldn't iron your shirt or anything?
Or anything like that, right? Shave or anything. Because to me, that's my first impression. So no matter how brilliant they are, their first impression to me is a wall. I put up a wall, and now they have to somehow get me to penetrate that wall to get to their intellect. So anyway, I think that is a great point, and I applaud you for doing that. Before we go, I want you to sort of tell everyone where they can find you, how they can learn about you, and how they follow you on social media and all of that, and then we can have some closing comments.
Great. Yeah. Again, my name is Bernard Gleton. People call me Chancellor Bernard Gleton from the School of Hard Knocks. You can check out my. I like to do that.
Oh my God, you're funny as shit.
You can find my podcast just about anywhere on Apple, iTunes. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on Google Podcasts. You can find me on TuneIn Radio. And you can find me at my website at genesisprojectpodcast.com. On social media, I am on Instagram and Facebook. I am on Twitter. I don't really deal with Twitter a lot, but you can find me on there as well. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Genesis Project Podcast, and you can find me on Twitter at Podcast Genesis.
Got it. Hey, everyone. I just want to tell you that I've had the fucking best time talking to Bernard and talking about entrepreneur. I mean, his energy is infectious, and he smiled through the whole thing. He wasn't lying when he said that. And he's a great guy, and I hope that you'll check him out and talk to him. Maybe he can save you from some of the things that I went through regarding technology and give you some ideas on how you can streamline your business from an IT standpoint to give you more time to focus on your business rather than on figuring out the IT section or the IT problems that we all have. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Bernard, it was such a pleasure. I hope you'll come back. I would love to have a continuing conversation about entrepreneurship. I am going to listen and subscribe to your podcast, and I hope you'll do the same for mine. And I will follow your progress. Also, I want to put this out there. If anything I can do to help you as a mentor, as someone in business, if I can be of any service to you, reach out to me. And I'm going to message you here before I disconnect my direct email.
Okay, that would be awesome. And just for your guests, or rather for your audience here, I just started a online course. So earlier, you guys heard me speak on how to start a business and things of that nature. I created a course on how you can actually start a business. So for those who are scared to jump out there, to try this entrepreneurship thing out, you're going to want to check out this course, this online course. And it would take...
Can you get that on your website?
Take your hand. I do. I am put it up right. Well, it's been up now for a few days, but yeah, go check it out.
And also, Bernard, send it to me. I just sent you my email. Send it to me, and we'll put it on our social media and on our website as well.
Gotcha.
All right. Listen, you have a wonderful day. It was a great conversation, and thank you for being so flexible and giving me 15 extra minutes to get ready.
It's all good. I appreciate you for even having me on here.
Absolutely. Take care. You were an absolute pleasure. I mean it with everything. Take care now.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye.